Good afternoon. My name is Dirk. Thank you for joining our live telephone town hall. This is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants as we possibly can live during this event. So if you have a question, you can simply press star 3 on your telephone keypad at any time. You'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff. They'll take down your name and where you're calling from. The next time you hear your name, you will be live on the call and able to ask your question directly. If you're streaming the event on our website, you can simply type your name and question right below the streaming player. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can today. And now, here is United Cooperative Services General Manager and CEO, Cameron Smallwood.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Cameron Smallwood. Thank you for joining us today. As a lot of you know, United engages its members in many ways, including through community meetings, its annual meeting each October, Texas Co-op Power Magazine, social media, and in regular daily interactions, just to name a few ways. Today, we are once again leveraging this telephone town hall to engage our members. We've heard from a number of our members during the first couple of months of 2024 with concerns and questions about several items of interest, and I will provide information and clarification today. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Cameron. Now, as I mentioned, this is an interactive forum, and we would love to hear from you. We'll be taking as many questions from participants on the phone and online as we possibly can during this event. So again, if you have a question, please press star 3 on your phone keypad at any time. You'll be placed in line to speak with a member of our staff, where they're going to take down your name and where you're calling from. And remember, the next time you hear your name, you're going to be live on the call and able to ask your question. If you're streaming the event online, please type your name and question right below the streaming player. Now, I've mentioned we're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can during the time that's permitted. If we're not able to address your question today, please leave us a voicemail at the end of this event by simply remaining on the line. Or you can always call our office at 817-556-4000. Again, that office number, 817-556-4000. So remember, if you've got a question, all you need to do is press star 3 on your telephone keypad, or simply type it right below the streaming player.
Well, thank you, Dirk, and I'll take it over from here, and we'll try to be efficient with your time today so we can leave time for as many questions as you all may have. And so I'm going to kick it off and just thank you again for participating in our telephone town hall today. Again, this is Cameron Smallwood. I'm the CEO of your cooperative, and we're a not-for-profit electric distribution co-op. That's what we are at United. And what does that mean? We're not here to send profits to some investor far off away. You are our investors, the members of this company. And any profit we make actually comes back to you, and I'll talk more about that on our call today. But we have a singular mission of providing you exceptional service and value, and that's what we're focused on at your cooperative. We don't focus on any other thing other than the members of the co-op, and service and value means so much to us, and we sure hope that you do have an exceptional experience with us every time you transact with us. So I'm going to discuss your cooperative at a glance here, and we cover a slide like this typically during our town halls, and it does change from year to year because we do continue to grow. We're currently Texas' 7th largest electric co-op, and there's a lot of large electric co-ops in Texas. There's about 900 across the nation. We're in the top 40 as far as size in the nation, so we're a large electric co-op. We serve 75,000 member owners, and so if you're listening today, you're likely one of those 75,000. And we're a relatively large business. We're almost $900 million in assets, both electric and internet assets. And so we're not a small company. We're a pretty large company. We serve over 104,000 meter locations, and those meters are relatively new. We just finished a meter change-out project. Many of you probably recognize that over the last few years as we've been throughout, but we've completed that project recently. And we're growing at about 3.5% right now, which is a pretty good growth rate for an electric cooperative. But the most important piece of this slide really is the member dividends that we've returned to our members. In the last 24 years, we've returned almost $90 million of your past profits back to you as members in the form of member dividends, which is why we do business as a cooperative, is to support our members and return what we don't need back to you. And the board looks at that every year, and we return money back to you last year as well. So really look forward to doing that every year. So today's telephone town hall, we're talking about how to present this to you this year, and we talked at the staff level and said, what are the most prominent questions we're getting from our members right now? And let's spend time dealing with those questions right now. And so the first one, probably the one that we get the most, especially after we come off of a really hot season or a cold season, is why is my bill so high? And so for those of you that are following online, you see slides, and we've got some graphics and graphs and things like that. I'm going to do my best to talk from a standpoint where you don't have to see those as I go through my presentation, but those of you that see the presentation online, you'll be able to follow along as well. First thing I'd like to bring up is how we actually bill you and what we bill you. And so out of every dollar that you send to your cooperative, 80% of that goes into what we call power supply cost, which is just a pass-through to you. We don't make any margins on that. So when whatever we're billed in that bucket, which is the generation, the transmission lines, and the substations, whatever that cost is, we just pass it on to you directly. So there's no markup on that. And so that's a value to you every day. The other 20%, the other 20 cents of every dollar you send us is for our poles and wires and transformers, all of what we do to deliver you energy. And so that's how the breakdown goes. And if you look at my Texas Co-op Power column that just came out recently, I have that same chart on the screen right now. And if you look at the money that we collected in 2023 from our members, we collected about $384 million from you. Of that $384 million, $1.4 million was our margin or our profit, so 0.3%. And so I have some members tell me, y'all are just making too much money, y'all are just storing it away, you're giving it to these people or that people or whatever. Folks, we made 0.3% profit or margin, and that's really, really low from a business standpoint. That's the great thing about being a co-op. We operate in a pretty slim margin role, but that's a little too slim. We normally like to see about 4 to 5%, and our bankers and our rating agencies like to see that too. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But everything that's blue on that chart from Texas Co-op Power, you can see on the screen if you're watching, it's 80% of the cost that we collected last year. And so we didn't make a lot of extra money. Actually, we didn't make much money at all last year. And so when our members say you're just making too much money, that's just simply not the case. Now, I want to talk specifically about why bills were high. So in February, we were getting that question quite a bit, why is my bill so high? And that's primarily due to usage. And so we've got a graph on the screen that shows a typical member's usage in the month of January. And in January, later in the month, we had about a 10-day cold spell come through, 4 days of which were really, really cold. But out of those 10 days, 9 of 10 days were below freezing, as low as every day. And 4 of those days were actually in the teens, and in some parts of our territory below 10 degrees. During just that period, most of our members used a whole month of energy just in that 5 or 6 day period where those lowest lows were. And so when you get a bill for all the month of January, you get your normal usage from back January, and then you get a whole second bill basically because of the usage that you had just in those 4 cold days, and you can see that on the graph. So people ask, well, my bill doubled. Well, actually it did because your usage doubled. And so when you look at the actual data behind what's going on with your home, that's ultimately what's happening. And so why is that? So our members are using heat strips on their heaters. If you have a heat pump, many heat pumps can't actually keep up with that kind of cold, so they switch to emergency heat mode, which uses heat strips. And folks tend to use space heaters quite a bit more during these really cold events. Well, space heaters use a lot of energy as well. So all those things together drive an extreme amount of usage when temperature gets really cold. And of course that happens several times a year. If you look at cumulatively what we purchase on your behalf, you'll see that every January, February, and every August and September, you peak. Our system, we call it peaking, and that's when all of the usage sort of comes together and everybody is using at the same time. And we see it every season, basically, every winter season, every summer season. So every January, February, depending on which month is colder, and every August or September, depending on which month is warmer, that's when the bills get really high at that point in time. And so ultimately, it's something that we see over and over and over again, but every March and April and every November and December, you're going to have higher bills coming off of those really hot periods and cold periods. It just is what it is. Now, so how can we fix that? Ultimately, we're a co-op. All of the energy that we sell you is, like I said a bit ago, just a pass-through. We don't make any money on that. And so we're really okay with you using less energy and ultimately want you to use less energy. And so how can we help you do that? Well, we have an energy audit program. If you haven't taken advantage of that, please let us come to your home and actually look at your usage with you and actually look at what's in your home and what's driving your usage. Sometimes we actually find problems with systems, et cetera, but we have experts that do this every day, and we don't charge anything for that service. And with that, when our experts do come in and they see something that you can improve, we have a rebate program that helps pay for some of the potential upgrades that you would actually implement to use less energy. Last thing I'll bring up on this slide is the billing options. For members that qualify, we can actually put you on an average billing program, so you don't have the highs and lows. You pay more of an average bill throughout the year, and that helps some folks as well. There's quite a few other things we can do for you, but call us and let us know. The other thing, we know that some of our members are struggling right now, and we have Operation Roundup, which most of our members participate in by rounding up their bill every month, and that extra money goes back to organizations that help our members every day. And here's on the screen, we just list a number of those. Texas Neighborhood Services is one of the key ones that we work with, but there's quite a few others. And if folks are having a hard time, these organizations actually step in and can help you when we need to help you. So please take advantage of that if you can, and if you need that help. Also, we have the Brazos Hardship Fund, and unfortunately only about 250 of our members are taking advantage of this right now. But there's a large bucket of money that is in a hardship fund to help our members pay for the winter storm securitization charge each month. So if you go back to that chart earlier, you'll see that we paid $33 million for securitization charges in the year 2023. Well, the hardship fund for members that qualify, it actually pays for that part of your bill. The current average savings is about $22 a month for those 250 members that participate. And our demographics show that we probably have about 10,000 of our members that fall in this category. And so we really would like our members to take advantage of this program that's out there. And so please look into that if you can. The next, I'm going to shift to a different question, and a question that we get quite a bit about this same time is, why does United's rate keep going up? And so I want to address that with you as well. So the next chart, and I'll describe it for those that are just listening, shows our historical rate back through 2020 and comparing it to the Encore REP average cost. And so this is the chart that we have in our Co-op Power magazine each month we're very open and we show you how we compare against the market and how we compare against the market in the TNP area, how we compare against other parts of the country. And we've always been very competitive on this chart. And if you look at the history, for those of you looking online, you'll see that the majority of the time over the 5 years of this graph, you'll see that we're actually below the Encore REP average cost. And what that means to you is that you're getting a good deal and that you're getting a competitive deal. The other thing that you'll notice on this chart, starting in March 23, when we took over the power supply responsibility from Brazos, we told you that the rates would be stable. And if you look at the chart from March 23 on, they have been very stable. It's actually a flat line. The rates only decreased once, and that was when we went into 2024. If you remember, when we signed the agreement with Constellation, I told you at the turn of every year in the agreement that there would be a slight decrease, and there actually was a slight decrease in the January rate that we charged to our members. So ultimately, the idea that our rates went up is just not true. Our rates have actually gone down. And they gone down significantly? No, they've been stable, but they actually did go down a small tick in January. So it's all usage, folks. When you use more, you pay more. Our rates haven't actually changed. If you go to the March Texas Co-op Power that you all got recently, you'll see the latest comparison, and our rate was right at 14 cents, which it's been that since the first of the year. and the Encore REP average was 14.29. If you see our solar rate there, we don't have any more room on that rate because we had a fixed amount of solar that we were selling, but those that are on the solar rate, about 7,000 members, are getting a really, really good deal. It's the cheapest rate out there on the market right now. And so, we are working to try to bring more solar on. We just haven't been able to do it yet. We hope we can in the future, but time will tell on that issue. On the next chart, I break down specifically just the United, the Encore, and the Texas, New Mexico REP averages. The interesting thing there is we don't talk about Texas, New Mexico a whole lot, but if you live around the Meridian area up through Glen Rose towards Strawn, the Texas, New Mexico service territory sort of follows our territory there, and we compete close to them in many of those central part of our territory. Folks, we're almost 2 cents below them, and so that's a really good deal in what we're doing against the Texas, New Mexico average, and we're still competitive with the Encore REP average as well. Now, what's going on in the ERCOT market to create the higher rates for everyone right now? In Texas, we are short in generation. Now, I say that we're short in natural gas generation and coal-fired generation. We do have a lot of solar, we do have a lot of wind, but as you're very familiar, the sun's not always out and the wind is not always blowing. So the only thing that we can guarantee is gas or coal, and coal is just not a big part of our portfolio, and nuclear isn't a big part of our portfolio either. So generation for Texas is gas. And so ultimately, we don't have a lot of it. We have just enough, and we continue to have people move to Texas every single day from other states. And so that's creating a lot of challenges with our grid right now, which results in wholesale energy price volatility. So the cost in the market that drives the REP rates is very volatile right now, and it depends on the time of the year it is. We're going into more of a shoulder season right now, so prices are coming down, but you'll notice if you look at the REPs, they're not coming down significantly right now, and the reason they're not is because the prices for summer are already projected to be 13 cents wholesale, which is really, really high. And so it's a very difficult market that we're operating within right now. Along with that, we have continued changes that are happening in the market, which is creating volatility. And then after Winter Storm Uri, a number of legislative things happened and laws were passed that require us to implement market changes through the PUC and ERCOT. And those changes are being implemented right now, discussed and implemented, and those are going to bring further cost into the market as well, all of which are intended to increase the reliability in the ERCOT grid to keep us from having another Winter Storm Uri kind of event. But all that together, without getting into a tremendous amount of detail, it relates into retail prices and increases as well as volatility in the retail markets, and we're definitely seeing that. And the good thing about our power cost strategy, folks, is you haven't seen volatility from us. It's been stable, and it's been stable for some time now, and it's going to be stable all the way through the end of our contract in 2025. And so with that contract, we didn't really know what the market was going to do when we signed this agreement with Constellation to provide our power, but it's ended up being a very good thing for our members. And we're glad to see that it has provided stability. It has provided affordability. We have been trending below the average market cost, and it has provided us time to figure out what to do beyond 2025, which we are actually working on right now. And we're looking at ways to mitigate costs going forward and for sure mitigate the risk of this volatile market that we're dealing with as we go forward, because we're not seeing that the volatility is going to change much. And with that said, I do want to discuss an issue going forward that we do have to deal with, and there is a rate increase that actually is coming, and so we're expecting that that's probably going to come at the end of this year. I told you earlier in the session today that our margins were only 0.3% of our revenue, which is pretty tiny, and our bankers and our rating agencies aren't extremely satisfied with those results, and so we have to be in that 4 to 5% as we go forward with margins. And so we're looking at ways to design that and develop that to impact you as little as possible. And so if we can figure out a way to lower our power cost in our next contract as this new distribution rate increase takes place, then we're hoping we can keep the cost somewhat similar to what you're paying today. So that's what we're working towards. So, but why are we having to raise our rates? So back in 2020, we told you that we were going to increase our rates at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, about 6% on average across all customer classes. And that was done a number of years ago. And we haven't changed our rates since then. So when we did that rate study, we projected that to last us through 2027. And so we had assumed certain inflation rates, we had assumed certain interest rates in that rate study. And the bad news, folks, is we undershot those things. And we didn't do it. We were reasonable, so we thought inflation was going to run about 2%. We thought interest rates would rise, but not to the extent that they have. Sorry, I had to cough. And the bottom line is things have gone up dramatically. And you've seen that as consumers as well. And we've got some 2019 prices compared to current prices on several things that we use today. And you'll see conductor, we've seen a 72% price increase. Conduit, we've seen a 228% cost increase. Poles, we're seeing, excuse me, give me about 10 seconds.
All right, well, Cameron gets a quick drink of water. I'd like to remind everybody, if you've got a question you'd like to ask during the Q&A portion of this call, go ahead and press star 3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. Again, please press star 3 if you've got a question you'd like to ask, or you can go ahead and type your name and question right below the streaming player if you've joined us online. And Mr. Cameron, are you back with us, sir?
I am. You got to love allergies this time of year.
Yes.
So you get the point. Our costs have gone up. All of you have dealt with these issues just like we have. And going forward, we've got to deal with this. And I'm not excited, and I know you're not as members either. But we're moving forward with a member advisory committee right now. And those members will give us input into the rate design as we go forward like we did last time. And we're looking forward to that input from our members as we go forward. So the next question is, why doesn't United offer retail choice? We get this question quite often from a certain group of folks, and it tends to be the same group of folks. And what we have to decide is, do we want our members to continue to expect United to provide the power supply management and contracts and such going forward, or do you want us to opt into retail competition and you choose your own retail electric provider? And those are the options that we have. And we've done a lot of studies on this. We've talked to our members over and over again, and ultimately what we've seen is our members have asked us to continue to maintain their power supply for them and go forward, and so that's what we've been doing. But we want to continue to get that input from our members as we go forward. So one of the interesting things that has happened recently is we've had the opportunity to see a test case on what Lubbock Power and Light has completed recently. So back in 2022, the Lubbock City Council voted to opt in to competition. It took them 2 years to get it accomplished. And so they're just now registering customers into retail competition now. So they're about 108,000 meters, which is about our size. So it's similar to what we may see in the market. And if you look, they have 35 approved residential retail energy providers right now. That's about half of what the Encore market has today. And so that's a challenge for competition where there's not quite as many retail providers to provide, but 35 still sounds like quite a few. Right before opting into competition, Lubbock was still responsible for the member rate. And you'll see on our slide there, they were 14 cents, so 14.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Well, the average REP rate that just now started, so their customers are just now signing up for REPs on powertochoose.com at 16 cents. So, folks, it goes from 14 cents to 16 cents on average. That's a really big shift in cost for those customers in Lubbock. And so they opted in, and now they get to deal with selecting their new provider at that new cost, unfortunately. So we've always been concerned about this possibility, and we're sort of seeing it playing out with Lubbock. Now, we'll see what happens over time. It may get better, and we'll continue to watch this example as we go forward. But right now, I'm sure as a citizen of Lubbock, you've got to be questioning yourself right now on this decision. So I'm going to hand it over to Dirk for a polling question.
Thank you very much. And yes, we've got the technology on this call to register your feedback on poll questions. And the question we're going to ask is this one. Please use your telephone keypad to register your opinion here. How do you wish your power supply to be managed in the future? Please press 1 if you want United to continue to manage your power supply needs. Press 2 if you want United to opt into retail competition for you to select your energy provider. So again, poll question we're looking for your input on. How do you wish your power supply to be managed in the future? 1, I want United to continue to manage my power supply needs. Press 2, I want United to opt into retail competition for me to select my energy provider. A number of people are registering their opinion. Thank you very much for participating. Cameron?
Okay, Dirk, thank you. So there's been 300, here we just got an update. So there's 473 votes currently. I'm sure we'll get a couple more in. 422 say they want United to continue, and about 50-ish want United to opt into retail competition. So we're about 90%, 10%, 89%, 11%. The numbers are still changing. Evidently, y'all are still voting. And so, but that's consistent. And so we've asked this question for about 4 years now as a polling question in town hall events and when we actually speak with our members. And so the numbers are very consistent with what we've seen in the past. So for the 10 to 11% of you that want us to opt into retail competition, you know, we are a co-op. We do listen to our members, but when 90% of our members are telling us not to go that route, then we're basically not going to go that route. And so we're going to continue asking this question, and we won't stop because ultimately it's your co-op, and we want to do what you want us to do as the members. So, but thank you for responding to that. We're up to 550 responses now. 89% want us to continue to manage the power supply, which again is consistent with what we've seen in the past. Thank you for answering. All right, got my voice back, so we're going to continue on. Question 4 that we've been getting here recently is what's up with United's facilities? And so if you've driven by the Cleburne office recently or tried to go into the Cleburne office recently, you'll see that it's not available. It's actually being deconstructed right now. And so we have started our reconstruction process at the Cleburne location that we've been talking about for some time now. I think I've been talking to our members about 4 years about this. But years ago, back in 2009, we developed a long-range facilities plan when we projected basically all of our needs for our employees and our equipment and our storage out for the next 30, 40 years. And we determined that we had some deficiencies in our facility locations. And so we made a decision where to start, and we started with our Burleson office, and we've slowly made our way through the different facilities, updating them to prepare them for the next 30 and 40 years. And so we're now to the Cleburne project, and so we did quite a bit of study about the Cleburne location and decided it was going to be the cheapest thing to actually rework on the existing site. We felt like that's going to save us about $3 to $4 million in the project to just stay on that existing site, so that's what we've done. It's going to be about an 18-month project, and we're really looking forward to the benefits of it. I know you as members will too once that project's complete. We do apologize for the challenges of not having that office there. We did purchase 2 temporary locations, one in Joshua that you've already started using and one in Godley that you've already started using. We plan to sell both of those once the office opens back up and help to pay for some of that construction cost. We're really excited about the new location or the new office and what it's going to bring for the members. It'll have a drive-through like many of our other offices. The Cleburne office hasn't had that in the past. Our community room is going to be about 3 times the size it is right now, which will be a great benefit to us internally, but also to the community that does use the room. I know we've had some challenges with the size of crowd that want to use it in the past. But ultimately, I could list you 20 different reasons why we're doing the project. I'm not going to do that to you on the phone today, but just know that the project is needed or we wouldn't be doing it. Going forward, we recently opened the Mansfield office, and that office was placed there because that's where our strongest growth is in our whole system right now. And we need a presence in that community, and we need personnel over there. And that office, we had a ribbon cutting just a few weeks ago with the community leaders there. I can't tell you how many of those community leaders are appreciative of us being in the community there. We also had an open house, and I had the opportunity to speak to many members that came to visit their office and how pleased they were to actually have an office close to them now, as opposed to driving across the county to conduct business with us. So a lot of growth happening out in Mansfield, and we need to be there to support it. The good news with this office, it'll have a little impact on us financially because we purchased the property back in the early 90s. We didn't know if we were going to ever build the office. We finally did. We're going to sell the remaining land, and the commercial real estate folks are telling us the price we should get for it will about pay for the whole project. So it'll have very little financial impact to our members. So that's really good news as well. The last question, and it's always the one we get a lot, and we probably will for the next few years until we complete the project, is where is my internet? And so for those of you that are watching online, there's some little marks there, hash marks and such, because sometimes when you ask the question, there's an expletive included in that question, and so we understand some of our members' frustration with that right now, for sure. Right now, where we stand, if y'all, I'll start sort of from the beginning for those of you that don't know this information, but we had a vote about 5 years ago as to whether to enter the internet business. And that vote was 92%. We did a ballot, and 92% of our members that responded said we need to move forward with the project, so we did. And at this point, we're serving over 24,000 subscribers on our network. We have over 7,300 miles of fiber installed, and we're trying to move this project as quickly as we can forward. So I want to talk a little bit about, I brought it up last year, but I want to bring it up again because I think there's been some confusion on this point. But when we started the plan and asked our members for a vote, we had a certain vision of what we were going to be able to accomplish. And that was installing about 6,000 miles of fiber, installing about 200 towers, and our breakdown of what we thought our members would be using, we thought about 77% of our subscribers would be on fiber and about 23% on fixed wireless. Our total expected CapEx back then, when we did all the studies and everything, was a little over $200 million. And we were going to complete this work in 5 years. And so I've brought up to you before, and I'll bring it to you again, we have changed our plan, mainly because the fixed wireless we weren't happy with. We did install our first few towers several years ago. We had a number of members that used the towers, but the big issue is most of our members that were supposed to be able to use the towers couldn't because of trees and because of terrain, et cetera. And we knew that wasn't going to be a solution that made our members happy going forward. And so we shifted over to what we call the current plan, and it is the currently approved board plan. And our fiber miles in this plan, 11,183, is expected 0 wireless towers, so everybody's on fiber. But you'll notice a big difference in the CapEx, so from $203 to $383 million. And so that's a big change in dollars. And so we've had to really figure out how to be able to spend that extra money and still make the business plan work, and that's what we're working on right now. I think we're going to be able to do it from all indications and still maintain the integrity of the electric business, which is what we're paying very close attention to. The biggest issue is that last line for our members is the construction timeline goes from 5 to a little over 8 years in our projections. So I know that the members that don't have fiber in the most rural areas don't want to hear that right now, and I understand why you don't. But at the end of the day, when you have fiber as opposed to a wireless technology, you're going to be so much happier that you have that as opposed to the wireless. And so that's our plan right now. I can tell you that we're doing everything we can to continue to build as quickly as we can. We're adding, and it hasn't slowed down, we're adding about 600 subscribers a month, so our members are added to our system every month, and that pace is, and we're keeping up with it right now, and we have no intention to stop. It's just taken us a little bit longer to get those last consumers connected, And we're going to keep working on it until we're done. The board is committed, the staff is committed to do that. But what I will ask you is we're working on a map right now, and what that map is a more detailed timeline of when we're going to complete the project in different areas. One of the things that we're going to do with that map is look at how many members are in each construction zone to determine priority as to where we're going to build. And so if you're in a construction zone, and let's say there's 40 or 50 members in that construction zone, if only one of you register, we're not going to give that very high priority compared to another construction zone where all the members pre-register. So on our website, ucs.net/internet, there's a place that you can go register. And if you don't have service right now, go ahead and do that so we know that you intend to connect to the system when we get it to you. That will help us to prioritize the areas that we build next as we go forward. So we do plan to have this map with the priority discussion in place hopefully by summer. We're working on it right now. Our board is laser focused on giving our members a communication as to when to expect to have fiber service from us. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish, and we'll have that done very soon. Overall, we're still moving forward, and we plan to serve every member that doesn't have access to good internet, the opportunity to have that. And so with that, we're going to shift into the question and answer session. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dirk.
Thank you very much, Cameron. All right, we've got Raymond joining us from Burleson. Raymond, you are live. What is your question for us, sir?
Sorry about that. You mentioned that the customer receive financial money back or somewhere. I'm paraphrasing. How's that happen and how it shows on our bill?
Sure, Raymond. Thank you. So every year our board makes a decision based on our current financial standing as to whether or not to retire, and it's a quote-unquote retire some capital credits that we hold in each member's account. And so as you're here with us longer, that account builds and builds and builds. So brand new members that are on our system don't typically see much return because they haven't been on our system very long. But as you're on the system longer, that check gets bigger and bigger as you use more energy and pay your bill. And so smaller bills below $20, we've been crediting that to the member bill. And in the fall when we do that release, and those that have amounts over that amount, we actually send a check. And so that's how that works. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I remember, if you've got a question you'd like to ask, simply press *3 on your telephone keypad to enter the question queue. And if you've joined us online, please type your name and question right below the streaming player. And I've got a comment here that came in from someone online. Vincent writes, I would like to see you offering cable TV. Cameron, your thoughts?
Vincent, thank you for that question. We've had that question and concern from our members that are our subscribers now. Bottom line is it's a really expensive thing to do, and there's so many different services that are available online that do this already, that we've just chosen not to do that because we didn't want to add cost to the project and not really be able to give you all a product that you could be proud of. YouTube TV, there's so many different options out there, Hulu TV that have local channels, etc., and they work just like cable. And as long as you've got a good solid internet connection, they work really well. And that's personally what I use. I use YouTube TV, and others use different services. There's probably 10 or 15 different TV services you can use out there. Because of that, that's why we don't offer a cable TV offering.
Back to the phones, and we've got Helen in Stephenville. Helen, you're live. Go ahead with your question, please.
Well, sir, I just wanted to tell you that I moved here in 1993, and I couldn't believe how expensive it was to live in Stephenville, Texas. And finally, I found my land in 2001, moved out here, and I could not believe the difference. It was like a third of the cost. So anybody who wants to gripe about the price of the United Cooperative Services, you tell them to come and talk to me, because you all have been so kind and so good. And so many things you do for the members. It's wonderful what you all have done for me, and that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, well, I appreciate your comments very much, and I do understand members that, that have high usage and have high bills, and we do empathize with you and we want to help you. And so, those that have more efficient homes, pay less, and that may be what was just stated there. But bottom line is, we want to help our members.
Audit. Sorry, I had an energy audit too. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so, we're here. Believe it or not, we're actually here to help our members, and I hope all of our members feel that. Evidently, you do. Thank you for your comments.
All right, moving on. We've got Charles, a question out of Venus. Charles, you're live. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I read some articles about pending legislation concerning pending regulations concerning natural gas power plants. The current administration is not going to act on them probably till after the election. What do you foresee in the coming regulations towards natural gas?
That's a great question. So the current administration is working on a rule, and in their original rule that they sort of released, an early release of it, it appeared that not only were coal plants going to be a target, but natural gas plants were going to be a target as well as far as emissions go. And I'm talking about carbon emissions. And so there were a lot of generation groups, including our national association, that really got engaged about that, because there's no way in this country that we can take down our natural gas fleet. It's the only thing that's keeping us going right now. And so we've fought back in a big way through the ways that we can. And ultimately, the administration has backed off of that. They've released some notes here in the last week that have said they're not going to, in their new rule, they're not going to apply that to existing natural gas plants, only new ones. And so I think that helps. But the bottom line is this current administration is really on attack of power generation right now if it's fossil fuel based. So if it's natural gas or coal, they're really against it. And unfortunately, this country can't go forward and have reliable electricity without those plants.
We've got another question submitted online, and this comes from Keith. And it says, in the past, Brazos purchased the energy sold by United and grouped it with other Texas cooperatives in their service to buy a larger block. Is power purchased now with others, or do the buyers only purchase for United?
That's a good question, Keith. So we did, as a part of Brazos purchasing on our behalf, they purchased on behalf of 16 co-ops prior. And as a result of the bankruptcy, each individual cooperative is now responsible for purchasing their own energy. That's something that we actually advocated for because we weren't 100% happy with how Brazos was doing those purchases on our behalf. So we were just one vote of 16, so we had limited control as to how that worked in that situation. But today, we're responsible for our own energy, and we're managing that on our own. And that's why our members have seen a very stable and affordable rate compared to the market here in the last year and a half. So, good question.
If you want to get involved in today's conversation by asking a question, all you need to do is press star 3 on your telephone keypad. Again, please press star 3 if you'd like to ask a question, or simply type your name and question right below the streaming player online. Let's go out to Rio Vista, where we've got Laura on the line. Laura, you are live on the call. I apologize. You're not live. Let me get you live. I pressed the wrong button. Now let's see if Miss Laura is there. Laura in Rio Vista, you can go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, I was just wondering if the co-op had any incentives for solar power. I keep having people come by my house, that my house is ideal for solar because I have sun from sun up to sundown, and I'm just wondering if there's any incentive with the co-op since my bill is technically almost $900.
Yes, let me address that. So, good question. We do have solar and salesmen, if you will, running our territory right now and saying a lot of things to our members. So I'm glad you asked the question. Starting in January, we actually started offering solar as well. But what I would suggest is reaching out to us and letting us come talk to you about it. We do have a rebate for solar, but what is more important is that we can actually show you, we can look at your home, your property, and we'll tell you for sure whether it's really good for solar, because we don't have any interest to just sell it just because. But after we review it and we go over your billing, we can actually show you what size you can install. We've got a very good price, a very competitive price compared to those that are running our territory right now. But I think what you'll find after we show you all the real data, what the real cost is, that you probably won't move forward with that project because of the timeline of payback. But ultimately, we want to help you if you want to do that. So please reach out to us, and we can come meet you. And actually, if you choose to move forward, we can do it for you. And the co-op will be here for a long time. We're not going to disappear like many of these other companies have.
All right, next up, we've got Donna in Granbury. Donna, you're live. Go ahead with your question. For some reason, I can't get Donna in here. We'll work to get that solved. But I do have an internet question that just came in from Chris. And Chris asks, how close are we to capacity on our infrastructure, like substations, transmission lines, et cetera?
Okay, so Chris asked that question, and that's not an internet question, that's an electric question, but I'll answer it. So substations and transmissions lines, we're actually in really good shape from a capacity standpoint there. We've got a very robust planning process for transmission and substations, and we watch it very closely. And we're constantly upgrading substations, adding new ones, upgrading transformers, et cetera, to ensure that we've always got what we need there. So we're in a really good position there, Chris. Thanks for the question.
All right, and next we've got Lisa joining us. Lisa, you are live on the call. What is your question? Hello, Lisa. Like Lisa is in Coyote. Lisa. Some reason I'm having difficulty getting these in. Let's try and get a live caller with a question. So we've got Jimmy in Granbury. Jimmy, can you hear me?
Sure. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So I heard you talking about the cost of all the copper, all the different supplies going up and everything like that. But so do you charge the people that are getting the new services, the new wires, all for those, or do we all have to pay for those prices? When I'm not getting anything new, mine's the same existing as it has been.
Yeah, Jimmy, that's a really good question. A lot of our members that have been on a long time may not understand how that works. So we have a policy that allows for a certain amount of expense for every new connection that is based on what we've done in the past, and it's got some inflation and et cetera tied to it. But ultimately, if a member asks us to do more than that, that member actually has a requirement to pay the difference between the average cost that we've added for everyone. So ultimately, it doesn't create a situation where all the other members are paying more than what they should for new members that attach. So really good question, and we try to keep that from happening. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess it seems like, if you're installing a new area or new whatever, they should be paying the most high prices for those new cables, not for it to be spread apart amongst everybody else.
That's right. No, that's true. But, when we're growing at 5,000 new connections a year, there's a lot of capital expense that goes in to add that kind of new connections. But your point is taken, and we do implement our rates and our aid policies in an attempt to be very fair to the members that are already connected.
All right, moving on. We're joined now by Robert in Grandview. Robert, you're live on the call. Go ahead, sir.
Hi. Yeah, good meeting. I just had a question. We had solar installed here at our home, and when we get our billing, it typically goes in like a certain percentage goes onto our bill, and the rest goes into what's called the bank. And my question was just whether or not, or why don't we just credit that directly onto the bill each month? Because with the solar, sometimes even when I'm operating on a surplus, I'm still paying a bill.
Yeah, that's a good question. It really comes in how we chose to do it. We chose to implement it that way, so we do basically one full credit a year as opposed to just running credits every month. Because a lot of our members that are running over, we would have a bank anyway, and so it's a lot. The billing calculation and all of the data that goes to do that each and every month and all the credits it's a whole lot more involved if we, as opposed to the way we do it right now, which you're still getting the value out of it. It's calculated each month, and so you're not losing value. You just get it at the end of the year as opposed to each individual month. And it's really just a streamlined thing for us to do that. But we can put that question out to our advisory committee that's going to be meeting on the rates here soon and see if they want to look at doing things differently, if you'd like.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was more of a curiosity than anything. I mean, we're happy with the solar and stuff, but yeah, it's just I'd not seen it done that way before.
Okay. Well, we'll bring your point up to the committee and see what they think about it.
All right, we've got another question that was submitted online, and this one comes from Austin, who asks, are internet speeds locked in, or does the technology being deployed provide room for growth over time?
Austin, thanks for your question. Actually, they're locked in from the standpoint of how we've got it set up today, but we've actually got the capability to increase speeds going forward. There's a few folks out there that are offering above 1 gig speeds today. We're also planning to do that as we go forward. We just haven't seen a real need to do it, but most of our members don't use that kind of bandwidth, and so we haven't really seen a need for it, but I understand there may be a want for it, and so because some of our competitors are providing it, we can provide it as well. Our technology allows us to do it, and you'll see us probably turn that service up in the next 6 to 12 months. And so that's what our plan is, to provide for those of you that want 2.5 gig or 5 gig service. We can do that. Our technology allows us to do it, so we're not locked in that from that perspective.
So another online question. This one was submitted by Heather, who is looking to find out why members can't work for UCS even when you have the work history to back you.
So members can work for us, and they do work for us every day. I'm a member, and other people are members that work here as well. So I'm not sure exactly where that question's coming from, because we have a lot of employees that are members. So.
Okay. Well, I think that we certainly, by having the office number available for everyone to call in, that would be a great time for Heather to reach in, 817-556-4000. And moving back to a question from online, or the phone, actually, we've got Eddie joining us from Mineral Wells. Eddie, you're live on the call. Go ahead with your question.
Hello. Yeah, it's been a while now since what they call Snowmageddon happened. There was quite a bit of suffering there financially. How prepared are we not to go through that scenario once again? Because nature will happen again eventually. So, do you guys feel that you've made adjustments and are prepared to accommodate the members?
That's a great question. So I'm going to answer it in two parts. Part one is how prepared is United, and I'll tell you, we did everything we were supposed to do and more during Winter Storm Uri, and so we were prepared. I think we're going to continue to be prepared as we go forward. And let me shift to a different answer now. What about the rest of the state, and specifically about the natural gas systems and the generators? How prepared are they? And that's a really good question there. There have been laws passed since that point in time that require quite a few things, and ultimately Those things are in progress, i.e. Winterization of plants. And so ERCOT put in a new process to go and check, and they actually do this now, and they check with every generator that has a natural gas plant to make sure that they've done the things they need to do in order to basically stay on during a really extreme cold event. The natural gas industry has done similar things. So on the major plants and the compression facilities and those kind of things, they put in inspection requirements to make sure that they're winterized and prepared for the winter weather. There has been a new move to ensure coordination of all the entities in the state, including electric and gas, with all the state offices. And so I've actually seen that play out during those 4 days that it got really, really cold here in Texas in January. We were actually part of that system or the state operations, emergency operations center, where the governor's office, along with all the agencies and utilities and gas, electric, et cetera, were all coordinating to ensure that everybody was on the same page. That has never happened before until early this year, and so that went really, really smoothly, and I was really pleased to see that. But the challenge still is we don't have any natural gas generation that's building anything that's significant. There was also that all of our members and citizens in Texas voted for this past year called the Texas Energy Fund that was on the ballot, and it was approved by Texas voters. And what that provides is a way for Texas to basically incent some natural gas generation to be built. There's a number of generators that have said verbally and publicly that they intend to apply to the program, which would maybe add another 6 gigawatts or 8 gigawatts of natural gas to the grid. I think that'll probably happen and that'll help, but it may not be the final solution, and so we have to watch and see how that goes. Bottom line is this, and I could talk an hour on this topic. I'm not going to do that to you, but ultimately we are in a better position today than we were prior to Winter Storm Uri. Is it conceivable that we could have a rolling outage event again? Absolutely. My hope would be is that it's much shorter if it happens again, and the financial consequences of it would be significantly less for market participants than it was during Winter Storm Uri. From United's perspective, our power supply contract today mitigates that risk for us. With the Brazos situation, that wasn't the case, and which is why we had a pretty big bill out of Winter Storm Uri. The bottom line is we've mitigated that risk, and so ultimately, from a United perspective, we're in a much better position today than we were then, but we're not out of the woods. So with that, really good questions today. There's more questions, and we're going to answer those as we can individually with our members. But we are at the end of our event this afternoon. But if you want to leave us a voicemail at that 817-556-4000, we'll answer your call there. Or you can leave a voicemail by hanging on the line, staying on, and it'll ask you for a voicemail there. But we just appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. We appreciate your participation in the vote. And I apologize for losing my voice for about 60 seconds during this presentation. Try to do better next time. Thanks, and God bless.